All right, everyone, we are live up and about. There you go. We're going to learn today about bricks of sapphire. Anyway, this is Parshas Mishpatim this week. Learn a new mimer. We're learning 2 shots, one this week and next week. That's right. Any case, I began learning it. I did not thoroughly crack it through. So that's Hashem, hopefully. There, I feel like there's something very, very bright in this mimer that I want to learn. This mimer is a mimer from the Rebbe that we're learning in Tafshin Yutet, which is 1959. On this week's parsha, the Rebbe said a discourse. I came across it because I'm teaching the daily WhatsApp that I put out, the daily Mashiach class, is now Tafshin Yutet, 1959. That's the mimer we're learning about. Happiness, smallness, and bigness, fascinating discourse. So being that I used that book, and then I looked, is there anything on Mishpatim? It's randomly looked, and I saw this discourse, and I started, curiosity piqued me, and I started reading it. I said, oh, this is such an interesting matter. So then I learned it, and I understood a little, and not a lot. And I came here earlier to relearn it again, and I realized I understand not too much. The depth there. So I looked where the Rebbe's discourse is based on his grandfather's, on the Rebbe Rashab's mimer, fifth Chabad Rebbe. And over here in Taf Reish Nun Hey, which is 1895. Year 1895, the Rebbe Rashab said this discourse, but on a far more elaborate version of it. I was thinking to actually learn it over here afterwards because I think it'll be easier to understand, but then I thought it will end up, the class will end up being 4 hours. And I know some of my students would have loved that to happen, but I'd rather keep it more closer to somewhat of normalcy. So I'm going to learn the Rebbe's discourse, and also because I like learning the Rebbe's special. And we'll see. And if we have to use that moment to help us with it, we will. Especially for the second half that I'm going to teach next week. That's your question. Okay, so this week in the Torah portion, there's a fascinating thing. It says the end of the Torah portion goes back to Sinai, the event at Har Sinai, because most of the Torah portion deals with the laws. Then it goes back to the experience at Sinai. It says that the people that were watching the event at Har Sinai, there were those who had an incredible vision. They saw. Obviously, not everybody saw the same. And it says, to the princes of Israel, the Tzilei B'nai Yisrael, to the noblemen of the Jewish people, the princes of Israel, Lo Yishalach Yad, Hashem did not check, God did not punish them. Why would he think she should punish them? Because Vayatzu es Elokim, because they gazed at God, they gazed at the Lord, Vayochlu, Vayishtu, they were eating and drinking. It doesn't mean they were standing there and eating a hot dog. It doesn't mean they were munching on potato chips and drinking a big gulp at Mount Sinai. Who are these princes? By the way, these are the children of Aaron. Nadav and Avihu, the children of Aaron. I want to give them the copies. They gave us copies. I know exactly 2 more are going to come, so I made exactly 2 more copies. See, we had a sense. There's 2 of them. So it doesn't mean they were sitting and eating and munching, as we said, when they were looking at Hashem. What it means is, Rashi explains that they were looking at the awesomeness of the revelation at Sinai, the revelation of God, and they were lacking in the awe that they should have had. They were like, as if a person, after a person eats, you feel, or after you've completed eating, you're satisfied, you're very comfortable with yourself. So that state of comfort is inappropriate when you're standing and you're giving a gift of such a vision. You should be sensing the awe of it, and therefore more inhibited, more controlled. They were in a state of a lack, what we might say, a tiny lack of Yirat Shamayim, fear of Hashem, when they were in that state of. And therefore, they should have been punished. But God didn't want to ruin the wedding that these great tzaddikim that would die. So he delayed it, and they passed away a year later when they made the tabernacle, the Mishkan. On the first day of the Mishkan, close to a year later, a couple of months, 9 months later, they offered up the Ketores, and then they passed away there. So this was already beginning. There was already some kind of a blemish, some kind of a din on them, some kind of a judgment on them ready from mercy. Okay, that's what it's says about Adam and Eve. But then it describes what they saw. They saw God sitting on the throne. And they saw that beneath his feet, Tachas Raglo, beneath his feet, was Kamaise Libna Sapphire. It appears like sapphire bricks. But when God is sitting on the throne, his feet are on this like stool, and the stool is like a wall made of bricks. It's called a shrafret in the sages. Shrafret means a footstool. You're sitting and you put like your airplanes, if you're given a nicer seat, they give you a first class, right? They give you a foot thing to pick up the feet. I landed a first class once. Get the luxury. It's always a good thing to feel once in a while. Any case, so you have a foot thing. You put your foot. So God, of course, he's got a foot thing to put his feet, and that's a shraf. This shrafret. So this footstool was made out of the bricks of sapphire. But also appeared like a very, very clear blue sky. Now the verse is saying two things. It looked like bricks of sapphire and a very clear blue sky. Is that the same thing, that the bricks of sapphire were so clean, like sapphire is a bluish color, and it was so clean, and it looked like a very pure blue sky where there's no clouds. Here in LA we get some clouds sometimes, especially in the winter after a rain. And or two different things. They saw the bricks, some kind of bricks of sapphire. Let's say it's sapphire. The Rebbe Rashab brings those opinions that say that the Livnas sapphire is either crystal or diamond. He uses the word uses the English word. It says in Yiddish. Crystal or the diamonds. Diamonds or crystal. But then or sapphire. That's the third opinion. It's sapphire. That sapphire means actually sapphires. Then it's a little blue. Blue, sapphire is a blue stone. And that blue, and therefore it was similar and clean, such a clean sapphire stone that it was like the clarity, a clean blue sky. Or is it two separate things? Because that's what it seems like. The extra vav is and like a clear blue sky. So this seems to be what they're seeing that is under Hashem's. So the Rebbe is going to begin the Maimer and bring us two opinions on how do we understand what the vision was. And primarily the relationship of these two states. The sapphire stones under God's feet and the clear blue sky. Is it the same or is it two different visions that they had? Let's read. Israel, they saw the God of Israel, the Tachas Raglo. Beneath the feet, is the appearance of the sapphire stone, and as a clear sky, to purity, which means like a sky that doesn't have a cloud in it. So there's two general explanations in this verse. One interpretation is one of them is stated in the Midrash and is stated in the Jerusalem Talmud. Masha Kata, this thing says the Tachat Sarago, Tomasi Livnas of Sapphire. Beneath his feet was like the sapphire stones. And they there actually Nigalo. This was until they were redeemed. That means that this that God is sitting with his foot on a stool of sapphire stones. This was, like, obviously understand that this was the prophetic vision that was shown to them. God wanted to show himself to them as if he's like a human sitting on a throne with his feet, and it was a message over him. So, according to the first parish, which is the Jerusalem Talmud and the Medrash, the two appearances, the blue sky and the sapphire stones, are representing two different times. Two different times. That means that at the time when the Jewish people were still in Egypt and they were still being oppressed by the Egyptians and servants in slavery, and they were working with bricks, the main oppression and the main labor that they were doing were building the pyramids, whatever they were building, and these buildings were made out of bricks. So these bricks were now seen above under God's foot. And this meant to express the idea that God is not aloof and removed and far away when his children are suffering. That the pain, the work, the bricks, the labor was being done in front of God's feet the entire time. That means God is feeling the pain and the suffering of his people with them, as the verse says, with them I am in their trouble. And that's the point that they were laid in front of Hashem. Because you could read the story as if God went up far away in heaven, and one day he decided he heard their cries, and then he came down to save them. One can get that impression. But the verse is saying, no, I was there from day one. And every time you were whipped, and every time your bones were breaking from the difficult, unimaginable suffering and labor, it was felt right in front of Hashem. Okay? So that was the sapphire. Then when it says a clear blue sky, that's the scenery. That's the state. That's the backdrop. After the people were redeemed, after the redemption, gone was the bricks, and it's replaced with the blue, beautiful blue, emphasizing that now God is with us. Right now, Hashem is with us in the joy. Hashem is not with us now in the suffering, because right now we're not suffering anymore. So right now, the Eibishter, God is with us in our joyous and the joyous. So let's read it inside. In other words, just like we understand that the Jewish people during exile and oppression are in pain, and then during the redemption they're joyful and happy, the sun is shining, and it's beautiful. So God himself goes along in these experiences. When we suffer, he is suffering, and when we are celebrating, God is celebrating. And these are these two different shifts, these two different appearances. The bricks of sapphire is God identifying with the labor and the suffering. And the blue sky is Hashem celebrating with the Jewish people. This is before they were redeemed. That's when beneath his feet it was the mus. Sorry, it was the mus of a levena, of the mus of a brick. To remember their tzara, to remember their pain, with chaymer, with cement, and levenim and bricks. But once the Jewish people were redeemed, the place where the bricks are usually placed, a king doesn't sit with his foot resting on bricks. That's not usually. Take a pack of bricks. That's outside by a construction zone. That's not under a king's feet. So that's what they did. They removed the bricks. In heaven, they removed the bricks and they deposited them by some construction site. and instead was etem shemayim l'Torah. Now, that's what the Yerushalmi says. Once they redeem, the place where it is the place of usually bricks to be, that's where they put the bricks. And instead of the bricks, like was a clean, beautiful, crisp blue sky. According to this, the Rebbe explains. These two things, the sapphire stones and the pure blue sky, and Beis and Yanin, two separate experiences, the Beis Manim, that relate to two different times in Jewish history. Pirish Beis, and the second explanation is, so then he's going to ask the question soon, but hold it, when were they looking? They were looking at the time of post-Yetzias Mitzrayim. They're looking already after the exit. They're looking at the time of the They're looking at the highest momentous moment of after the exit. They're looking at Hashem during his wedding, during the time of Har Sinai. The purpose of the going out of Egypt was all about this moment. Of course, the brick should have been far away. So some of our should say it means what they were seeing was a pure blue sky. But they saw the blue sky that was in the place of what was once before a place where there were bricks before. Or maybe that quick flashback to see an image of what was there before. That I didn't see, like imagine. So in other words, I guess it was known to them. The Torah is telling that what was known to them. They became aware of the fact that right now they're seeing a blue sky, a very clean blue, clear whatever that is next to the Kisei HaKavod, next to the throne of glory. As we know that the throne of glory has the same color of heaven. That's why we wear tzitzis, because the tzitzis, the fringes that we wear at the four corners of the garment are made with the cheles, and the cheles is a similar color to the ocean, and the ocean is a similar color to the sky. The sky is going to the Kisei HaKavod, that idea of the cheles, that bluish tinge, whatever that is. So, we can understand that that's the color that's beneath the Kisei HaKavod. They became aware that before that, in Mitzrayim, there were bricks in there, sapphire. Pirish Beis, but there was another explanation to the East of the Targum Yonasan. Like it says in the Targum, the translation of Yonasan. Who's Yonasan? Rabbi Yonasan ben Uziel, who was the greatest student of Hillel. He wrote a Targum, a commentary on the Torah. And his Targum says like this, and the Rebbe brings parts of it, but here it says it's nice to read it inside. Very powerful statement. What does it say? Uskafu Nadav va'aviyu yes einehu. Nadav and Avihu, these are the Atzilei B'nai Yisrael, as we mentioned earlier, the two sons of Aaron. They lifted their eyes, v'chamoin, and they saw Yastikar, the preciousness, Elokadi Yisrael, of the God of Israel. Utchoitz apipurin de rigloi. And beneath apipurin de rigloi. Rigloi is his legs. I'm not sure what apipurin means. The miyatsa choitz kursai, who was spread out beneath his kursai. Kursai means his throne. Hey, ka'oivad even sanpirin, was like the making of sapphire stones. Nidkar, which came to remember, which came to recall, Shibude de Shabude Mitzra'e Yafnei Yisrael, the enslavement that the Egyptians enslaved the Jewish people. Betina is cement, ubelivnin, and with bricks. V'hava neshaya bachin Yafina in Gubraya. So now the Targum adds detail to this idea about the bricks. The women came, and the women were trying to help ease the load of their husbands. The husbands had the bricklayers, the brick makers, and the bricklayers, the labor expectations, the quotas that were expected of them was absolutely inhuman and impossible for them. It needed Superman to do it. It was not possible. So the women, although they had plenty of children and a whole household to take care of, all kinds of troubles of their own, yet the women came to help their husbands. And what the women were doing was they were mixing the cement, which is not an easy job to do. It takes a lot of strength. They were mixing the strength together with their husbands. And therefore, what happens, have a term on the riva, matnakta, me'ibar. There was a young girl, a young woman. Matnakta means she was very delicate. Ma'abarta, she was pregnant. And because she was doing work, she exerted herself more than she was able to, especially in the time of pregnancy. And she miscarried because of this thing. The itzbetish, and then the fetus that she lost fell into the cement and became embedded in the cement that she was mixing. Nochas Gabriel, very gory story. Nochas Gabriel. So Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel, came down from heaven. The Avad Minei Leventa, and he made from this mixed cement that had this unborn baby in the cement, he made a brick. The Aske Lishmei Marani. And he elevated all the way up onto the highest heavens. The Iskene Gulukdak Kois Apipurin the Mara. And he set it up. Gulukdak, I don't know what it means. But the main thing is he set this brick as a part of the, as you say, beneath the Hashem's feet. Apipurin the Mara Alma, the master of the world. Zive, and it shined, have a ka'oivad eventav. It shone with such brilliance that it was like a Evan Statava, like a diamond stone. The Hevet Koit Shvar Shemaya Kadinun Beridin Minanan. And it was so clean and brilliant and shined like the clarity of the clear sky when it doesn't have anything. And what the Rebbe is bringing from the Targum Yonah, before we get back to the story for a moment, is that the Targum is saying that the very brick, the Targum is connecting the two visions as one vision. The Targum is saying that the brick that he went, which was a physical brick, it was made up of cement, sadly with an unborn baby that was mixed into it. It was elevated. Elevated to heaven means it was sublimated. It's sublimated. Elevated to heaven means the physical becomes more spiritual. And the energy goes up higher and higher until it reached the highest levels of spirituality. Until it reached such a brilliance that it was turned into a brick that was placed in a stone, a precious stone, that is shining like the brightest. So what you see from the Targum is that we're not talking about two different visions. One was bricks of sapphire that is also under the Kisei HaKavod. And then a clear sky, but that the clear sky is the same as the stone, the brick of sapphire. It's one thing. Unlike the Midrash that says these are two separate visions. So the Rebbe is going to ask the question, what's the argument over here? If it's two separate visions, if it's one. What's the story? Now, this is a very hard, something you tell them, especially today, when we're watching these pictures of the baby and the mother and all that. In a sense, the mother lost her children in the cement of exile. This is what it is. It's the modern day cement of exile that Hamas has been putting us through in Israel. This beautiful woman lost her beautiful two children in the cement. Here we see that. Oh my God, how much more? When we read something like this, these things are not just human suffering. It goes up to levels that we just absolutely can't even begin to understand. But that's the human emotional connection to the story, especially today. The Rebbe is going to explain it on a very, very deep level. And what he's going to explain, I'm just going to give you very, very short, the end, which I don't understand yet, but kind of the idea that we're going to see. Is there's a certain refinement that we do in the world. Again. We take the substances of the world, we refine them, we refine them, we refine them. But there's only a certain level of refinement that we can make of things that are essentially part of a limited, finite reality of creation. We can bring it up to a certain state of elevation. And that represents the concept of bricks. The bricks are human-made stones. It means taking elements that are within this world already and elevating them and make them into the best we can perform them, the best we can elevate. The pure blue sky from above is referring to that which is divine and utterly shining in the hands of God. It's the purity that God can make. It's the light that God can shine. It's the holiness that God can produce. The question is, can our imperfect service eventually evolve into the ultimate godly life? So according to the Midrash and the Tanchuma, we get to see a clear blue sky, but the clear blue sky that we get to see from divine revelation is always higher than the work that we do from below to elevate. As a result of our work, our creation of this Livnas Sapphire, making sapphire bricks for God, doing the whole work in Exile. We produce these bricks and we place them in front of Hashem. And we make them as sapphire that we can, as clean as we can, as holy as we can. We merit that God reciprocates and shines down to us revelations of pure divinity that are completely higher. We get to gaze at an ultimate blue sky. But the deeper explanation, according to the Targum Yonis and Ben Uzziel, is that our emergence with God is so deep that our imperfect work that we do eventually reaches a level of divine-made stones. They're not even human-made stones. That's how high they go, to become so unified with Hashem, so one with Him, that it's Etzem Hashem. I gave you the answer already. For 2 weeks, you have enough now. I can cut back in 2 weeks. That's kind of the gist of where the Maimon is going. Going to explain at great length what's the difference between bricks, what's the difference of stone, what are these two power, what are these two inyanim. That's what we're going to go to. Okay. Just a little sneak peek to the end. I'll read the last page of the book before we read the whole thing. Okay. Let's read again what he says, like it says in Targum Yonis. When the Egyptians enslaved the Jewish people with cement and bricks. The Piba Isha Ubra, and a woman who was this woman who lost her fetus. The shtaka in tit, and it got mixed into the cement. Yared Gabriel, the angel Gabriel came down the awesome and a levena, made from it a brick. Hell also the Shmei Shemayim. He took it up to the heavens of heavens. Yoshrafra. Oh, here he says that word. For it to become a shrafra. What's a shrafra? A footstool. Tachas Kisei HaKavod. Under, beneath the Kisei HaKavod. Beneath the throne of the Lord. He also, this itself was Kamara Heaven Sapphire. This achieved such a purity that it became like the sapphires. Heaven Toyin, which is a precious stone, that is compared in clarity and cleanliness to the pure sky. When the sky is very clean. Sometimes we go out and even if it's a clean day without clouds, it's just there's a smog. It's not clean. A very clean, clear day. That's the clearness. Behind it, according to the Targum Yonis, these two things, sapphire stone, sapphire brick, and the pure Etzem HaShamayim, the color of heaven, the prayer, the purity. Through Inyan Echad, they're both one. Tzarech Lahav, we need to understand the Hefresh, the Beis HaPerush. We need to understand the difference between these two perushes. We also need to understand the Piddush according to the first interpretation. That beneath his feet was like the work of the sapphires. Oh yeah, actually, this is referring to the time of exile. And the pure sky is referring to the time of redemption. So the question is, when did they see it? They saw it after Yetzias Mitzrayim. So they're looking now. How can you say that this was what was going on? This is if you came up to God during the time when the Jewish people were in exile and suffering, you would see that thing. But they saw it now, so how did they see what was before? How did they see then? Tachas Raglo, beneath his feet, Kamafta with Sapphire, which was like the bricks of sapphire, that was at the time of the Shiva de Mitzrayim. We also need to understand we also need to understand the general idea of Livnas Sapphire. The general idea, not going into before or after, it was bricks of sapphire. In the Sectus Chulin it says, Shisa, Cheles, Doidalayah. I brought this, we said this earlier. Cheles, the color of Cheles, which is that blue dye that we wear on our tzitzis. I mean, today's days, most people don't, some people do. And we know in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, it's going to be the Beis Hamikdash, we still lower. Also, it wasn't the priestly garments, so we're going to start learning about priestly garments. We'll learn 2 weeks from now, but next week already, we're starting to read about the various different parts of the temple and the tapestries. The cover of the roof is made up of a lot of chelas, blue. So the sages say chelas is similar to the sea color. Yam doyem el rekia, and the sea looks like the sky. Rekia doyem el even asapia, and the rekia's color is similar to the sapphire stone. The even asapia and the sapphire stone doyem el kisia color is compared to has some kind of a comparison to the throne of glory. And the Lord says, it says, they saw the God of Israel beneath his nose. The Gemara wants to prove, the Talmud wants to prove that the Kisei HaKavod, or at least parts, whatever is related to the Kisei HaKavod, looks like sapphire, from the fact that it says beneath his feet was the sapphires, the color of the bricks of sapphire. But that gives you an understanding that the Kisei HaKavod is also same color. One can ask, what's the connection? That's the Kisei HaKavod itself. This is the bricks that are beneath it. But I guess God is going to make something match. A sense of color, a sense of taste as well, right? Not going to make, it has to go along. It's a set, right? The throne comes along together with the footstool. Exhibit, it says, come out of Evan Sapphire. And the Gemara brings another proof. The Gemara brings two places from where we see that beneath the Kisei HaKavod the Kisei HaKavod, the throne of glory has a sapphire. 2 places. One is from Sinai, the story. The other one is from a pasuk in Yechezkel, in Ezekiel. There it says, Kamara Eben Sapphire, the appearance of a sapphire stone, Demus Kisei, the appearance of the throne. There actually doesn't talk about what's beneath the throne. There it talks about the throne itself is Kamara Eben Sapphire. So he's asking the question, if the color of the stone is, if it's really, the Kisei HaKavod is a sapphire stone, like the Gemara says in the Sectus Chulin, sapphire stone. But why is it a brick of sapphire? It should be a stone of sapphire. How does the brick of sapphire come? So obviously we have to say that there are 2 levels. There is something called a brick of sapphire, and there's a stone of sapphire. And they're not exactly the same. So is one higher than the other? Maybe, let's see. To explain. A brick is lower than a stone. How do we know that a brick is lower than a stone? Because a brick is a stone imitation. Stones are the original and bricks are imitation. Bricks are meant to be substitutes for stones. Human copies of a stone. It says, we're going to learn about a lot later, when they built the main usage of bricks, the first time that we find that it was used was in Babylon, in Babel, when they were building the big Tower of Babylon. So they were using bricks. And the reason why they were using bricks is the pasuk said because they were in a valley, in a place there were no mountains next to them. It's a very wide valley, so there were no mountains there, so they couldn't, or like an open plain, so they didn't have access to the stones which they can excavate from the mountain, and therefore they would have to make their imitations. So every original is of much greater value than a copy. I was in Yerushalayim last week, 2 weeks ago, Jerusalem. And we walked through an art gallery. And it was a stunning piece of art of the Rebbe. Stunning, such a happy face. Huge, 6 foot. My wife likes nice things, so she took an interest. I was happy the store was closed. We couldn't go in, but then she was looking online. So I think the guy, I think it was selling for like crazy.
It was on a shekel.
It was shekels. I don't think so. And then but you get a print. I think the print was also about close to print. Never compare the original painting. So a brick, the brick, Shalaveina, I didn't get not the painting, not the thing, but interesting. Shalaveina, not the Niev. The Laveina, the brick, is lower than the stone, given the comments of given. So, but we understand what it means in Yana. You have a stone, a brick, we also need to understand Mashakasa Birishal. This that it says in the Jerusalem Talmud. Jerusalem Talmud adds another insight. In why in Yechezkel, when it speaks about the throne, it calls it a stone, and in Shemos, in Exodus over here, it says it was a brick. So which one is it? But the Jerusalem Talmud says these are referring to 2 exiles. 2 exiles. The Egyptian exile and the Babylonian. The Egyptian exile, we worked with bricks. So therefore, the reflection of what it appeared like was bricks of sapphire. But in the Babylonian exile, you think of Babylonia for sure would be bricks, because that's the original place where bricks come from. They invented the brick. No, that's where it's stones. Why? I'll explain in a minute. Shalmi Bavavos of Kamara Evan Sapphire in Babel, it says like the sapphire stone. We're trying to pronounce a little Sapphire. The Lamdach to teach you, Shame She'even Kasham in Alavena, just like the stone is harder than a brick. Much harder to smash a stone than smash a brick. You can smash a brick, but it's harder to smash a stone. Kashibudai Shal Bavel, very, very shocking. The enslavement of Babylonia, Hayakasha was more difficult than Shibudai Shal Mitzrayim. I never came across that in all my life. At least if I did, I don't know. I always thought the Babylonian exile. We read it was difficult. Obviously, we read the story of the destruction. That was horrific. The first temple, when they came in and they slaughtered Jews, it was horrible. No labor camps. Probably suffered anti-Semitic persecutions. The truth is, I'm not a expert. I didn't learn through those parts of scripture probably that deal and talk about the actual persecutions that were going. But it doesn't seem like it was on the same level as what they had in Egypt. So we think, okay, it was a Galus. First of all, it didn't last anywhere close as long. It was 210 years, it was 70 years. But no, just like stone is harder than brick, the Jerusalem Talmud said that the Babylonian exile was harder and more difficult than the Egyptian. But the Rebbe explains. The Rebbe explains it now in the parentheses. My sense that I had earlier was correct. In terms of physical hardship, it wasn't hard. But over here, there was a great spiritual darkness that they didn't have. Behind it, if you shishibit Mitzrayim, because the enslavement of Egypt, The Egyptians did not care about the Jewish people's spiritual belief systems and so on and so forth. Their monotheism, they believed in God. The Egyptians were not going to force them. The Egyptians did not force them in religious matters. Actually, they know they let them have Shabbos Paro, you can have one day, and they learn one day off. Okay, Moshe got that, but because they weren't out to uproot their monotheism. They wanted to break them and destroy them physically. Mashe came to Bavel, is the case by Bavel. And Bavel, the Rebbe says, not only referring to Golos, but also Persian exile, which comes at the end of the Babylon, and also the Greek exile, and also Edom, our current exile. Shashibu, that the enslavement by Gambaruch was also spiritual. Like it says, the Rebbe is bringing an example, not from the Babylonian exile. He's bringing an example from the Greek exile. The Greeks forced the Jewish people to deny their relationship with God. That they had to write on the horns of an ox. We don't have any portion in the God. We're disassociating ourselves with God. So that when you oppress someone in their spirit and in their soul, it's worse than a physical oppression. Like we say it again, it's interesting how he focuses completely on Golos Yoma. We also say to make us forget our Torah, to make them forget your Torah, and to remove them or make them transgress the laws of your will. At first glance, now, this doesn't seem to fit everything we said earlier. What did we learn earlier? That the sapphire stone is higher than the brick stone. Sapphire, that stone is of greater quality. Now, earlier we were saying that bricks are an imitation, they're less than. And stone is more valuable, which spiritually means that sapphire stone is higher and better, so to speak, godlier than sapphire bricks. But suddenly we find out that there is a certain association with these two, the bricks and the stones, which is the opposite. That the bricks represent the time that we are in a better spiritual state. And the stone represents the time when we're in a lower state and in a more oppressed state. So that needs also to be reconciled. How do we work that together? So the first primary question, however, the most important question which the mind is going to deal with, is the first question: what's this meaning of these two opinions that see the bricks and the clear blue sky? Is it one vision? Is it part of one vision representing one experience? Or is it two separate things that each one remains on to itself? Yuvan said this will be understood. He starts off with something really, really special. Because we need to understand the general idea of the exile of Egypt. It was such a difficult exile that it doesn't have any rational logic that can explain such stuff. We just learned it wasn't as bad as Egypt, but now we say it was terrible. It wasn't as bad, it was terrible. But when we say it was terrible, was because it also, one of the things that you see it when we watch what's going on today, especially today. I'm talking about particularly today. Today, every Jew in the world that's paying attention to what's going on feels more than ever before that this is utter senseless. It's like it reached such a point of depravity, such a point of despicability and loneliness and evil that it's like it's already come on. It's already beyond anything that the human mind can begin to comprehend. Talking about the parading that they made with these, whatever. It's such a horror. It's worse than the worst horror to see something like that. So, and that makes suffering much worse. Because at least when you can say, okay, I understand, we go through it. You know, like we said, someone said yesterday, we were saying, something that's not going to break you is going to make you much stronger. We know the exile makes us much stronger, and it purifies us, and it refines us, and it cleanses us, and it's atonement for sin, and give all explanation. And when you know that, it helps you endure pain and suffering. When it reaches a point when it becomes utterly senseless, that's when you just can't handle it. Now, how do we know that the exile of Egypt was sin? Because Moshe cried out to God, and he says, this is not fair what you're doing to your people. Moshe said the cruelty is absolutely inexcusable. And the Midrash explains that question. The Midrash explains Moshe's objection to God as Moshe saying, don't think I'm just an emotional outburst. I studied this. I looked into it. I researched it. I spent time trying to figure out if they deserve it. And my conclusion is that there is no justification for the suffering. Now, Moshe would not say that unless he had files and files and files to bark about. The back is arguing. He's coming in like a lawyer well versed in front of the ultimate judge and making his case. He wasn't playing games with God. He came to a conclusion and instead it's not right. And he actually makes his argument. He said, I know in the past there were suffering. The Jews in Egypt is not the first time people suffered. There was massive suffering in the world before. The generation of the flood suffered. They were all killed. They all died horrific death. The people of the dispersion, the built a tower, had a very, 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 very bad punishment. It wasn't just that they mixed, people think they just mixed up their tongue. The Midrash tells us what happened. It was a bloodbath that went on over there. It went on as a result of this dispersion. And after that, there was the Sodom and Gomorrah were completely turned over and turned into sulfur. So there was a history of punishment and severe consequences coming to people. But Moshe says all of those were justified because they were sinners and they got what they deserved. You do the crime, you do the time. But he says, I don't see in the Jewish people any justification of what anybody did over here to deserve this pain. Let's see. So it's an exile that doesn't have any rational explanation. So much so. Even Moshe. What do we see? Even Moshe. Even Moshe means that tzaddik is not so quick to attack God because a tzaddik has very strong belief in God. Even when we reach past our tolerance and we say, like Hashem, what are you doing? Okay, that's because our limited understanding of God. But a tzaddik who's so devoted to God has a greater capacity to say, Gamzul Tov, this too is good. We don't understand. We have to accept with faith. That's why we always go to our leaders to strengthen us. And even when we're screaming and we don't understand, the leaders say, you know what? We have to expand in our faith. We have to believe that God has a reason and there's a good. Obviously, the Rebbe also taught us that we have to scream and cry out. It's a fine balance of how to deal with it. But so he's saying even Moshe Rabbeinu, who has such a connection to God, such a loyal servant, that therefore so accepting of God's ways, even if he doesn't understand. But over here, Moshe objected. That's what he's saying. Even Moshe Rabbeinu taught, argue, why have you done that to your people? It says in the Midrash, so says Moshe in front of God. How say the Bereshis, I looked into the book of Genesis. Moshe Rabbeinu had access to the Torah before the Torah was given. He says, I looked into the book of Bereshis. Or you can say in a simple level is that he knows the book of Bereshis because he knows history. It's not necessary that he looked to say the Bereshis from the Torah Bereshis, or that's also possible, of course. But also he's looking through some say that the Jewish people had written down the scrolls of like what happened with the counter. Whether that will be accurate to later becoming Mamish Sefer Bereshis or not, I'm not sure. But I've looked in Sefer Bereshis. And what did I see? I've seen that there were people that suffered. I saw Daira Mabel. I saw the generation of the flood. Daira Flood, I saw the generation of the dispersion. Midas Adin Haisa. It was an act of judgment. They deserve this punishment. According to their sin. This people, Moshe cried out. This people, the Jewish people, what did they do? look at that. Look where they come from. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. The greatest righteous people. Why are you starting up with them? What did they do wrong? No, your mind. This was the answer. Shocking answer. Shocking answer. Moshe's coming up with like the expectation that God is going to answer him through the attribute of judgment. Moshe was expecting that an angry God would come and say, "You say you didn't do anything? They did so and so." That there would be an answer from judgment. I don't know what that judgment is. So you explain it to me. If you're the judge, it's like Avraham Avinu says, "Hashayfik kol haaretz ya'layasem." The judge of the whole world will not do judgment, will not be fair. He was expecting Hashem to say, "Yeah, no, it's sin so and so. They deserve that Hashem would answer them that He's executing judgment." Surprise to Moshe, Vayomer Elokim el Moshe. Elokim answered Moshe, and Hashem moves the veil of Elokim, and Hashem says, "Ani Avaya, I am Avaya." And really, the one who's orchestrating all of this is not even Elokim. Not even an act of judgment, which I'm punishing. It's not punishment. Elokim would be punishment. It's not punishment. But then, infinite mercy. The whole story of Egypt is pure, infinite, divine mercy. And then what kind of mercy? What kind of compassion? Hashem explained. Unlike the story of the mountain, unlike the story of the flood, unlike those events, those were judgments. This is not judgment. This is coming from a place of compassion and mercy. I knew, the way I've conducted myself, God said, has validity, not only from the element of judgment. I guess there's an element of judgment there too, because Vayomer Elokim. Elokim is saying that, yeah, it's Elokim, it's harsh, it's Elokim. But behind the judgment, deeper, on a deeper level, who's causing all of this? It's my mercy that's really driving even the judgment. Satan is there, that this is coming, it's Hashem Avaya. This is really emanating from the name of Avaya, which is the name of mercy, the element of mercy. The explanation of this. For that, Hashem has to reveal to Moshe secrets that Moshe wouldn't know. Hashem has to reveal to Moshe Rabbeinu the concept of Gilgul, the concept of reincarnation. And he says, you're judging the information you have is you're looking at the people and you're looking at their ancestors, you're looking at their life as they are physically here, as you see their story. But you don't know the facts. These people that are now in Egypt, they were once here already before. And not the first time they're here in this world. This is an entire generation who was here in this world that's coming back over here again. And this is tremendous compassion that I have on souls to give them a chance to rectify something. So it's not punishment. If I would want punishment, I would put them in hell and burn them forever. I'm not doing that. I'm doing that is I'm giving them, putting them back in this world to do a tikkun, to do a rectification. And that's always compassion. Giving someone a second chance is a compassion. Who are these people? So these people are, so it says in Arizal. So Arizal had inside information from Elijah the prophet, who must have heard from Moshe Rabbeinu God's explanation. How did the Arizal lived 500 years ago, giving you inside information about these souls, who they are? Where did the Arizal find out? From his teachers. Eliyahu Hanavi, who must have heard from him. But wherever Eliyahu Hanavi here, including here, might have heard it from Moshe. You know that I saw an expression regarding the Basi in one of my morning of the series. This year's Basi Lagami. You know, every year there's a Basi Lagami, we learn. So in Mem, this year we learned Mem Hey and Chafei. So two Mem. So in Tafshin Mem Hey, there's 2 or 3 sikhs where the Rebbe is explaining the mimer that he said. And he says that the Alter Rebbe over there is basing on Alter Rebbe has a tremendous chiddush, big chiddush. And the question the Rebbe says is, how did the Alter Rebbe know this chiddush? The Rebbe says, no. The Alter Rebbe, you don't have to ask him where his sources are. After that, sure had good sources we heard. And the Rebbe said, who knows where we heard it from? Maybe you heard it from Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what the Rebbe said. Maybe the Alter Rebbe heard it from Moshe. Or maybe you heard it from Atzmos himself. You heard it from Atzmos Alein. Not from Atzilus, from the essence of the essence of the essence of God himself. Rich lost. Where the Arizal heard. So the Arizal heard, but again, the Arizal was telling us that this is the information that was given to Moshe. And what was the information? That the Israelites, the Yidden, the Jewish people that were in the enslavement of Egypt and Gilgal, they are reincarnations. They are the reincarnations of the souls that were in the generation of the dispersion, the ones who decided to build that huge city in that town. And that's the reason why they needed to be involved again in construction. They were already once on a construction site. They spend their lives on a construction site, so God is bringing them back down on a construction site. The construction that they were doing then was a no-no. They were building a tower to fight them, whatever that is, more in the night. And because they were doing that construction in a negative way, so these very same construction workers came down again on a construction site, and it was bitter. But this was a way to bring a tikkun. And just like then, their work was with bricks, right? Because as we learned earlier, that there was no stones over there; they were working with bricks. Therefore, in Egypt, the Torah emphasized the entire labor. Although the Talmud tells us that they gave them the verses, there was many other, any type of oppression and any type of ridiculous type of service. They made them cook for them and clean for them and do everything, the dirty work, everything they made them do for them. But the primary pain and labor, the bulk of the work was with the bricks. And then when Pharaoh made it harder, he wanted to tighten the screws, he made it harder for them to produce the bricks and the cement, because he said that to make the cement, they needed straw, and I'm not going to give you the straw. Initially, they were providing the straw. Now they needed to produce it. You see, everything was evolving around the bricks. Number one, we find out that the people who lived, that were brought down into the world. See, what I found stunning over here, which is really something to like really kind of like, is that you had an entire generation of Gentiles who later come back and they're the Jewish people, which is a big thing. Like, does that ever happen any other time that Gentiles who lived in the 1500s in Europe, are reincarnated now as Jews? The Pashtus, Jewish souls are Jewish souls. I don't know how that works. The only thing you can probably say is that this was before Matan Torah, before Avram. It was all before Avram. Actually, Avram was already alive during that generation. Avram came and watched the construction. That's what it says. He was 52 years old. He observed it, whatever. And he was actually the one who brought judgment. Avram looked at it and he wasn't happy with it. He said, this is a rebellion against God. And that's why God destroyed that whole tower. So everything has to be done by the tzaddikim. Avram Avinu did it. And it says, interesting, I once spoke about it by Shabbos, by Kiddush years ago, that from the Tzemach Tzedek that he brings, that when Nimrod was the entire builder of that city. That whole city was all under the auspices of Nimrod. So why was Nimrod so angry at Avram? In addition to his old stuff that he had a score to settle with him when he threw him into the fire, but also Avram ruined his entire project. He knew, and that's why it says, and when it says that the 5 kings came and they fought against the 4 kings, led by Nimrod, fought against the 5 kings, it says, Vayavayu, they came El Ein Mishpat, to the eye of judgment. And that's where they waged war, and then they abducted Lot. And the reason they took Lot, because Lot's Avram's nephew, Lot looked like Avram. And their intention, and they knew. And they figured that when Lot will abduct Avram, the bastard. Same trick. See, the evil has the same trick. Can't imagine it. Why is Israel being so? The rage that's going on in every Jew right now. I don't know which person didn't think. Turn Gaza into Hiroshima. I'm saying this very comfortable online. I'm not afraid to say this. Obliterate the place. The children and everybody together. They're all standing outside, dancing while little babies' coffins are being brought. Every single one of them. Obliterate them all. This is pure Amalekites. This is Amalek. This is a cancer to society. This needs to be obliterated. If the world doesn't see it, you see it right today. But why don't we do it? Because we can't leave our husbands. We know it. We can't. Our children. Even though releasing terrorists, and even though it doesn't make anything, it makes us do such crazy things because what does it make the Jews do? They're releasing all these terrorists, and the terrorists today they were going to do 5 bombs. 5 buses didn't explode. God forbid that they've been successful. God forbid hundreds of people shredded to pieces. If it would have been during rush hour, you saw the way these buses look. These ripped through these buses like, the miracle that God did for the Jewish people today is just absolutely spectacular. They made a mistake with AM and PM. At least that's the initial story. They set the timer off for the wrong time. This is absolutely insane. Obviously a miracle. But what was I saying with this? Where was I going with this? I don't even know what I was saying. So what are they doing? They're holding onto the house. And so we know that by releasing all these terrorists who are dead bent and they don't care about that. Okay, for them to kill Jews is more important than their life. That's their ultimate way. So they're going right back into the terrorist machine, into the terrorist production. That's what they're doing. So it's insanity to release these people to God. But what can we do? We can't leave our kids there. We can't. When you realize that these people are suffering 500 days in Jannah, you can't. And it's a wicked trick to do that on the Jews. You see that Nimrod did the same thing. He said, I'm going to take a look. Avram's relative. I know Avram is even going to do something suicidal. He's going to come to fight. Or is he going to go fight for major? He is. Because that's what Jews will do. Because we cherish life. And we're going to do anything we can to rescue our brother that's in trouble. Amazing how the same thing replaces. But it says they fought that war by Ein Mishpat. Why Ein Mishpat? So it says because Nimrod knew that Aram Avinu was the one who evoked God's eye of judgment to thwart that whole project. Well, very interesting. You can understand that today as well. It's amazing. If you look at the world, like why is the world so okay with atrocities being done to the Jewish people? And the entire world is not up in arms and screaming. Besides good people, there are good people in the world that are up in arms and screaming. The big majority of the world is silent. Generally, might have more sensitivity, but it's because we are the Ein Mishpat. We're the ones who ruin a lot of the schemes of the world to free itself from God gets ruined because of the Jewish people. And therefore, it's just like, so they are uncomfortable. A lot of people are uncomfortable. But in any case, so I'm going back to the idea that he says that the entire generation of Mitzrayim was an incarnation of the souls that lived and made the tower, and they came back into this world to do a tikkun. But the words are very interesting, that these were very, very neshamis, doishos ugavayos. Ugavayos or kedoshos, what's the words over here? These were very high souls. How do you know these later became the souls of the Jewish people? They were very high. Neshamis, kedoshos, no. Kedoshos v'atzumas. Holy and powerful souls. Hello, shachatu b'kach, they sinned. Sha'amru, they said, let us go and prepare ourselves, and let us make bricks, burn the cement, make the nisr of the sreifa. let us form bricks. Then we're going to burn it in the oven. And the bricks became stones. They used the bricks for stones. And therefore, that's why they later came back into Gilgal in a reincarnation in the generation of Egypt. That they have to go back and work with those bricks. This wasn't just a punishment. And Lagam, again, if it's punishment, it would have been din. Why does Hashem say Ani Avaya? Because this was a way for them to fix it. And then once they fixed it, they went out of Egypt, and we went on to become the great chosen nation, the light onto the rest of the world, the ultimate destiny, receiving the Torah, eventually Mashiach, all that. It's all because God gave us them a second chance. Imagine if He wouldn't do that, then we would never have anything. We would not be. Again, the Torah could never come to the world because there's no Jews to receive it. There's nothing. There's no future to the world. So God is saying, this is really my compassion. This is Ani Avaya. This is a conduct from Mitzad Midas Arachim. This is the conduct that comes from Midas Arachim. That's the reason why their sins were. There's a very interesting thing that says that the Beis Din Shamayla, the court, the heavenly tribunal that judges people of the world, are always made up from the tzaddikim who lived recently. Tzaddikim who passed away, righteous leaders, Jewish leaders, and tzaddikim who pass away, they become part of the Beis Din above, and when souls depart from this world, they have to give a din v'chesed. They go in front of the Beis Din, so it's in front of those Beis Din. You have many stories of how people had near-death experiences. Even they say they saw this one, they saw that one, they saw the Baba Sali, they saw the Rebbe. They saw and in early generations, we have stories of it was in front of the shop. Even after they passed away, they were the Beis Din. So it's explained, why can't they just have the old Tavoyim and Amaroyim sitting from way back then? The answer is because they're so high and they see things from such a godly place that they can't judge things based on us. They judge everything from the ultimate divine truth. And then it's terrible for us. The tzaddikim who are here closer still have a little bit more of a narrow vision. Because they still see things more from the human perspective. So they can cut us more slack based on understanding the world. So here you see that once you get God's answer, yeah, for sure, it's okay. So you justify, bricks and bricks. What are you fetching about? Do you know that you were the ones who built the bricks over there? Get the second chance. Do it differently. But we know that we're not meant to. We're meant to cry out. Hashem wants us to pray. If we would have all these secrets all the time, then we wouldn't. We wouldn't be able. First of all, we wouldn't be able to do the tikkun the way we need. But also, we wouldn't be able to defend others and daven the way we should, because everything would be justified. Everything is good. So it's a tricky situation. In any case, the Zachol L'chol Inyanim and the Yidden was Zeich that the Jewish people merited to all the elements. Shahaya B'Yitzis Mitzrayim was the taste of the Mitzrayim was when they went out of Egypt. Tzarech L'Haven, however, we need to understand. The question here is like this: in Eitz Chaim, it emphasizes very strong not only in Eitz Chaim, but in the actual story. What do you see? The Exile emphasized it, and it's in the story, that the punishment that the Jewish people were given, or the rectification, was the bricks, the Levena. They had to work with the bricks. Why make such a to-do about the bricks? I would think the main thing is that they were building a tower to fight God. It was their, whatever that meant. It's a mysterious story. It's hard to understand what that means. That the humans were planning to build a tower to climb up to heaven and go up to wage war against God. What does that mean? But it was a form of a rebellion. So the main thing is they rebelled against God. They're building a city. Why get caught up with the material that they use? Bricks, that's what bricks is. There's such an emphasis on those bricks. So it seems like that the blemish itself is deeply associated with the concept of bricks. And not just that they use bricks, but that the very notion that they substituted bricks for stones, that was their sin. And that's the reason as well why they needed to work with bricks to fix the problem. But that needs clarification. Why is it? The sin of the lived a lot of years. They wanted to build a city. Well, Migdal and a tower. And the tower should go up all the way to the heaven. Now let's go up to the sky. Let's make a world. Now what is the sin in the Amram when they said, let us go make brick. Elam Alavena the oven and the Levena and the bricks was to them like a stone. That reason they needed to have the tikkun, and they shipped Mitzrayim, and they enslaved into Egypt. It had to be with cement, and it had to be with the Indian business. The idea with this is as follows: this that it said that the bricks became to them for a stone. Really, bricks and stones are two different things. But you could replace one with the other. As explained in Torah Ora, the difference between them. Stones are made by God. They are made. They are God. They are natural stones. Who made nature and who made them? Hashem created the world. The levanim and bricks are fashioned and made, taking materials and making them into a stone to replace a stone. And they are made by the hands of people. So in order to understand that, we need to understand what's the essence, what's the real spirit, what's the soul, what's the spiritual meaning of a stone. No matter which stone, a brick, the concept of what stones are. We construct, we build things, we build cities, we build civilizations from stones. What particularly does the stone do? What does it mean? And then we'll understand the difference between a man-made stone and a God-made stone. The concept of stone. Is known that stones are letters. Like it says, as it says, in other words, that besides physical stones, there are psychological stones or spiritual stones. Like it says in Sefer Yetzirah, it says in the book of Formation that there's an old, one of the oldest Kabbalistic books of Jewish mysticism attributed to Avraham Avinu, that the Shtei Avanim Voinoi Shtei Bakar, that two stones can create two homes. All you need two stones and you make two stones to make two homes. What does that mean? If you take 3 stones, you can make, I don't know what number, but you can make quite a bit more homes. Usually for a home, you're thinking much more than 2 stones. In the spiritual world, 2 stones is enough to build a house. What is that? I know if it's now that we're saying that letters, the realm, the whole concept of letters, which letters make up alphabet, which makes up language. Right? Language is all built on a system of letters. And through letters, you construct words, and words construct sentences, and sentences construct paragraphs, and paragraphs construct chapters, and chapters construct books, and that's how we pass information. That's the inside structure of civilization. The inner structure of civilization is the structure of building a world through information. Information, in order for it to be able to be developed, passed on, and exchanged between people, and so on and so forth, all has to work through a system of words, of language, of words. And the building blocks of it are the letters. Once you have 2 letters already, there are words, which contain within them already a message with just two letters. For example, take the first two letters of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph and a Beis, and you can construct two different ideas, two different homes with those two letters. If you put the Aleph before the Beis, you get the word Ab. Ab is the root of Abba. Abba means father. So Ab means a father. It's a concept. It's an idea. It's a father. You understand? A father, a child, a father, and a child. God is our father. A father, a very important word. In English, it's a whole bunch of letters. In Hebrew, it's two letters, Aleph and a Beis. You take those very same two letters, and you flip it the other way. You put the Beis before the Aleph. You get the word Ba, which Ba means coming. Hine hu ba, Mashiach. You're going to take a word, and you have to use it. You can say anybody is Ba. But if you're living in Mashiach consciousness, you have to say, Hine hu ba Mashiach. Mashiach is coming. Ba. Beis out. Ba coming. That's coming. Now coming means someone entered. Totally different idea than father. How about we put it together? Abba. It's already a whole thing. A little baby says, Dad is coming. Ab. So what do you have over here? Two letters creating two homes. Once you have, and that's, he gave an example of the first two letters, there are many other words that are made up of two letters. And so it can build homes. It can build what's a home? A home is where someone can dwell. When an idea, a concept, whatever that concept is, lives inside the letter. The letters is the construct in which the idea lives. Without letters, I have no way to transmit an idea. If we wouldn't have language, we would go crazy. Like we find sometimes. And we're holding a middle davening or whatever it is, and we need to give someone a message. No. Oh. And because of the lack of letters, they look at it. I don't know. Give the language. Give the message. Language can compensate a little bit, but not only a little. So the high note, what does that mean? Oisios, which are the stones, through which you build. The word ois is from the word asa. Asa means to come. Asa boiker, morning is coming. Ois means asa. It says morning is coming. Morning is arriving. Asa boiker. Skuk the dog. Day is coming. What's that? For us today, Mashiach. Asa boiker is coming day. Ois, the letters, and kalim, the letters are containers. What do the oisios do? You take letters and you put them down, now light can come. Once you have language, the ideas can outflow. You don't have language, the ideas remain in the abstract and they can't be read. So letters call forth the idea. Every idea, it can be any idea. It can be an idea in math, it can be an idea in biology, it can be an idea in chemistry, it can be an idea in Kabbalah and mysticism, or spiritual idea, physical idea, the idea about sports and about politics. It can be any idea, anything in the world. You want to bring forth an idea, you want to bring forth a concept, you have to bring the letters in, and the letters brings the idea. So letters are coming forth. That's why they're called ice from the language of emerging. Everything emerges from a hidden state through letters. So letters are the carriers. They carry ideas. Letters are the containers. So you're going to see that energy, the idea itself, energy is very elusive. Energy is very, 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 very private, very, very quiet, very, very hidden. Energy always seeks to dissolve itself in its source. And because it wants to dissolve itself in its source, unless it has letters to anchor it down. So when I'm saying an idea, the idea is the energy. The words that are carrying the idea are the anchors to hold the idea down. Or else the idea swims back into the person's mind. That's the producer of the idea. To push the idea out, it must have letters, carrying things out. Okay, let's. The letters of that they have Adam Shemot is all of the base. Oh, the letters of Aleph and Beis, Shemboingo is Beis Bata. They built two homes. Av, Aleph and Beis can spell Av, and Ba, which means come. Yoisam, Mitzidiv, when they are in a combination of father, Yesh Behem Amshacha, the G-dly. They draw forth and they reveal Inyan Av, concept of a father. What's the idea of a father? Can't be a father unless there's a child. Father denotes that there must be a child. The father is the source of the child. It gives birth, it causes the birth of the child. And it's in Ba, but if the letters are set up the other way around, Beis Aleph, Yesh Bem Amshach is Begili, Inyan Bia. They reveal and they bring forth the idea of an imta comes out, comes out that there is in the letters two elements. There is the body of the letter. That's the Aleph and the Beis. Now let's take it. The Aleph and the Beis, it's interesting, have nothing to do with the concept of the proof. Because the same building blocks can put together the word Ba. And Ba has nothing to do with father. Ba means come. What does father have to do with come? Concept of father and concept of come is two different things. So what do you see? The letter A. Does the letter A intrinsically have anything to do with apple? No. Apple happens to be that apple is spelled with an A. But there's thousands of other words. So the A is just a syllable, some kind of a block that we can construct with it. Depending with the other letters that we're constructing along with it, it will now facilitate and create a space, so to speak, for an idea to emerge in it. Now, the idea of an apple, the spiritual element of the apple, the concept of apple, the concept of father, the concept, that's unique. Father is father, apple is apple, and astronomy is astronomy. These are all different ideas, entities. But the letters are interchangeable. The letters are used in the same letter. So therefore, in every single word, there's two parts to it. The letters of it, which is the body. The body meaning just the anchor, the vessel to hold. And then there is the real substance of it, which is the soul of it, which is the idea that is being conveyed in the letter. And then the energy that is drawn down once you have these letters. You set these letters up, and then it pulls forth energy. Kabbalah, when we take this idea and we give it in the language, again the letters, in the terminology of Kabbalists, when you oirize the lights and vessels. The vessels, what Kabbalah always talks about. Vessels, words. And the light is the idea behind it, the concept behind it, the force behind it, energy behind it. That's in Kabbalistic terms. Now, everything begins in the divine. So in God himself, there is the two concepts of the divine energy and the divine vessels that God uses to express God's language, so to speak. God's power to speak. God also speaks. He speaks the world into creation. God speaks when he gives us the Ten Commandments. He speaks to Torah. There is the language of it, and then there is the energy of it, the divine power, the flow, the concept of the projection of God that's coming through these particular words. So these two ideas within Hashem, the vessels and the lights, are also associated with two names of God. The name of God associated with the lights is generally Havaya. The name of God associated with the vessel is Elohim. Or within Havaya itself, there is the light of the energy of Havaya. Light that's the spiritual energy that's in Havaya. And there is the letters, the Yud Kei Vav Kei. The Yud Kei Vav Kei is the letters of Havaya, the vessel. And then what's not seen, the transcendental energies that are the miracle that comes forth when Havaya is revealed, that's the energy. You don't see that. Not the letters. But we also know that in Havaya there's two pronunciations. Havaya there's many, but Havaya could be pronounced as Shema, 45, and Havaya could be pronounced as Shem Ba, 52. The name of 45 is when you fill the hidden letters of Havaya. You fill them with alepphs. Primarily it means the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey are spelled Hey Aleph, Vav Aleph, Vav. And Hey Aleph, then Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is usually 26, becomes 45 with the hidden letter. And then the Yud Kei Vav Kei can also equal 52. If you fill the Yud Kei Vav Keis with Heys. Hey, 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 hey. And it's 52. Shame not. So it's explained in Kabbalah as follows. When God is emanating the light, the energy element that he's emanating is associated with the name Havaya that equals 45. The vessel element, the production of the vessels, is associated with 52. As I said, the Indian Ashramans. And when it comes to the name, the Indian Shema, the idea of 45, the Shem Ba, and the name of 52. Do as it is known, Shema, the name of 45, who Indian Ha'oras. It's the idea of the lights. Shem Ba, the name of 52, who Indian Archaic. It's the concept of the vessels. Now, lights having a connection to 45. Lights having a connection. Because 45 equals the word, spells the word ma, memhe. Ma means what? What is it? Ma means what? And when you talk about energy without vessels is what? It doesn't have substance. The vessels, as we said before, anchors it down. So but the energy, the whole force behind it, but it doesn't have any substance. What is it? That's why the what of Havaya, the 45 of Havaya, when Havaya is the what is the infinite energy of God prior to vessel, or the energy itself above the vessel. Ayin, nothingness, meaning undefined. Then it anchors down into shape, form, takes on a specific definition. Then it's 52. So it's almost like we might say the body of God's name, and the soul of God's name. Ma and Ba. And that's why it translates to us as well. Our soul, called Isha. The Shama ends with the Medhe. Our comes to more specific. That's in general. In a Shem Ma'atzmoi, the name of 45 itself has a body and a soul. The name of 45 itself, the soul of the name 45 and the body of the name 45. The soul of the name 45 is the Ma of the Ma, and the body of the name of 45 is the body of the Ma. For example, very simple. When you say that Yud K Vav K equals 45, how do you get 45? Yud Vav Dalet, Hey Aleph, Vav Aleph Vav, Hey Aleph. So the letters themselves, you're putting letters, that's the body of the 45, even though it equals 45. But it's letters that equals 45. So it's the body of the soul. Within the spirit itself, it's the body of the soul. Then there is the soul of the soul, which is the beyond letters that is the name 45. Now, vice versa. In the name of God that associates with body, with the stones, with the body, with the vessel, with the container. That name of God also has two elements. The vessel of the vessel, and the energies of the vessel. Within the vessel, forget about the light that goes in the vessel. Within the vessel itself, there's also. So there is, therefore, in Ban, there is the Ban of the Ban, and the Ma. In the Ma, in the 45, there is the Ma of the Ma, and there is the Ban of the Ma. In general, the name 45 represents a level that is dominated by energy and not by vessels. If you go into the world of 45, you won't even feel the vessel. You'll feel only energy. And therefore, you'll feel it's very abstract, very, very, nothing, very, very high. But you need to know, even that feeling that there's some energy has some subtle vessel. If there's no vessels, you wouldn't even feel that. We're still going to see. The energy would be so swallowed up in its source, you wouldn't even feel that. The fact that you feel an energy, there's something there, just that's a sign that there is subtle vessels. There has to be vessels. It's like there are notes to a song. I'm giving a speech, you hear a bunch of words. And a song. So it has notes, which are letters. Special types of letters are the vessels of the song. You can write it up. Those are the vessels of the song. But in a song, since a song is primarily energy, a tune, I'm not talking about words, I'm not talking about a song of words, I'm talking about a song, just a tune. But there are hidden words there as well. Hidden letters, but you don't hear those letters because the letters are completely lost in the tune itself. In a speech, there are words. It's much wordier. A speech is so much more wordier than a tune. You hear the letter so much more. But a really good speaker and a really good speech is one that you'll hardly hear the letters, you'll hear the message. Power comes to the concept, not the word. This is with the idea you see how there is Ma inside of Ban, and there is Ban inside of Ban. There's two relevant. But in general, the name Yud K, like we said earlier, if you really want to break it down, the name Elohim is the name of the vessels. The name Havaya is the name of light. Within Havaya itself, when you put Havaya with with the filling of an olive, you feel so much more the light. So the vessels are hardly felt over there. So that's called the world of lights. When you fill the Yud K Vav K with the letters, with the haze instead of the olive, you feel much more, it's heavier than the letter. The Shem Havaya is more pronounced. The letters are more pronounced. Substance. You hear more the substance of the letters, the vessels. You don't feel so much here. But each one, as we're saying now, really doing a real deep analysis on a very, very subtle level, you can find both in each one. In the Ma, you have the Ban of the Ma, and in the Ban, which is the world of vessels, there too you have the energy. As he says, and calls them that comes to general. That specifically the Shemna Atzmoi, Afshabakulas, even though general making in the place is the idea of lights. Ishbagam in Akedah. It also has the idea of vessels. Wukhan is Ban the Ma, that's the Ban of the food. Behind you, Shem Ban Gufa, the name of Ban Gufa. Yash is Ma the Ma. There is the 45 of the 45. Wukhan is Ban the Ma. The Ban. I'll share with you something really cool. Moshe knows the energy of a man. He was a person who lived in the pure state of energy. He lived completely above ego, completely above self-awareness. He dissolved so much in God that he had no self. It was a pure illumination, it's a pure energy. That's why Moshe said it about himself, Anachnu Ma. I am what? And when you hear Moshe talking, you know God is talking. Not him. He's not there. He's just the vocal cords of God coming through him. Totally nullified to the energy. You don't even see the vessels. The vessels are dissolved in the light. When Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, when Moshe says, "I have a hard time talking," that's why you have a hard time talking, because he's beyond the vessels. It's the pure energy. He's from the world of Ma. He doesn't have any from the Kidmin Amayim. She pulled him out of the water. The ancient world was other. He's from a world beyond vessels. It's no vessels. A whole different realm. I can't talk. So what does Hashem says? Aaron will be your interpreter. Aaron will be his brother Aaron, the high priest. He will be your. So it's explained in Chassidus that Aaron is the coolest idea. Aaron is the Ban. He's the words of the nullification. He's the words of the energy. Where do you see that? You see that Aaron is also man. Because Moshe says to the Jewish people, why? In last week's Torah, Parashat Peshat, he says, why are you complaining to us? What is it? And Aaron and me, he says, Mahu, who are we? Kisalinu aleinu, that you're fighting. He includes him and his brother Aaron and saying, we are both Ma, we are both. They were so, their vessels were so handsome and so non-emboldened vessels, sense of self. Because the real root of the difference of lights and vessels are that lights are the epitome of dissolving in their source, of non-beingness, of non-definition, of withdrawal from somethingness. And vessels are, the idea of vessels is weight, heavy, down, substance of something. So Aaron is on the same wavelength as Moshe. But the uniqueness of Aaron is he can word Moshe Rabbeinu's bid'ah. He can express Moshe's non-beingness into language. Aaron is also non-being, but Aaron at least can find words to express. Moshe can't even express. He's above the finding of words. He's so dissolved in God's overall infinity that he doesn't even exist at all to be able to express that he's non-existent. Aaron can express the fact that he's non-existent. So Aaron communicates Moshe's nullification, Moshe's bid'ah. So Aaron is the Ban. Chaim Shem Dan Atzmoi, now the opposite. The name of God that produces the letters, the words, the somethingness of creation. Chaim Shem Dan Atzmoi, the name of 40. Afshe B'Kulasa Yom Inyan Hakim. Even though in general it's the idea of the vessel. It also has some element of light. It's the ma element of the body. And that's the difference between the stones and the bricks. Talking about the stones. The stones are stones made by heaven, meaning they are the ban, but they are the ban of the man. And made by God, they are of the light. They're part of the light, part of no. See, if we could take all of this and give it another division, another definition. God and God's infinite light, that's energy. Wonderful. Creation, limitation, creations, bond, vessels, containers, definitions. Therefore, stones, which are God's stones, emphasizing that they're made of Him. So they belong in general to the element of heaven, which is the element of energy, which is the element of 45. But they give enough substance to be able to express. They have a language of nullification, a language of nothing. But at least there's language. We often don't even hear the language. You hear there's just pure. There's nothing even to talk about. It's like there's a point where you say someone is humble and he's so, and then he disappeared and there's no one even to talk about that they're humble. There, no one to talk. There is a nothing that does just nothing, and there's a nothing that's at least we hear that there's nothing. The sound. Aaron is the sound. Moshe is just a pure nothing. And when we say nothing, we mean the ultimate something, because the nothing means completely unified with God's truth. Stones, let's go back, is the language, because we said before stones are language. Didn't we say before stones are language? The fact that God made stones means they're the language of God. They're the language to express God's truth. God's infinite nothingness, His ain't self, is beyond definition. They give language to that. Now, I'm going to make this really super cool. It's hinted to with the word Evan. Remember we said before, what's the power of man? 45. Is when the Yud came up, is filled with olives. So the Aleph is the energy. Aluf Shalola. Aleph is the Aleph that runs through the Yud Kevavki is the pure energy, the pure or Ein Sof, the pure infinite light. It's the Aleph. What's Evan? Aleph, Ba. The vessels. What we said before 52 is the vessel. The vessels for the Aleph. That's all it is. It's to express the Bittul, to give language to Bittul. That's the stones. Like Aaron, who gave Moshe a language, who was able to communicate Moshe's godliness in words. Maybe that's the reason why Aaron was always wearing stones. That hit me before. That Aaron had to wear stones on his breastplate, stones over here, because that's really he and Moshe doesn't wear the stone. Because Moshe is beyond the stone. Moshe is just the Aleph without the Ba. Moshe is just the energy. Aaron is the Ba of the. So Aaron and Moshe. So who's flowing? Who's really the Kohen? Moshe. But Aaron capturing it in a presence. Really cool. That's why the first few days Moshe was the Kohen. Then he hands it over to Aaron. Once you draw the light down, now you have the light over. You can anchor it into words, into what are bricks? Bricks is the ban of the ban. Now the ban of the ban, let me the ban. Ban is 52. Which 52, as we said before, is the energy of God that produces something, produces the world. Now, even over there, there is a soul and there is a language. There is words and there is the soul of the word. The bricks, stones are always associated, whether it's stones or bricks, they're always associated with the something. We said before, the stone serves as a facility for a person to live in. Language serves as words to take an abstract idea. Stones are always heavy. They're always, that's what you think about. Stones are heavy to pick up. They go into yesh, they go into something. The bricks are language that is lacking. It produces a world of somethingness that something that feels itself, the something that sees it to be a container for energy, the something that's divine energy, the something that starts becoming something utterly separate. A world that separates itself. A world that, although it's something, but all it is just a vehicle for a divine energy to express itself, is a world of stuff. That's like Jerusalem, which is the ultimate state of God's capital. Capital city is made up of Jerusalem. Babylonia that comes to fight God. Nimrod, led by Nimrod. Nimrod means rebellion against God. He's operating with bricks. He's building a migdal. He's bringing a city full of bricks. He wants to create a world that is a ban shedaban that doesn't have a man, doesn't have a bittul. They want to erase the bittul. They want to erase the nullification to the energy. They want the words to float away from the content. The content of everything is purely divine. To go away from the content. Just, for example, our bodies are here. We serve God. When we start attributing significance to our body for the sake of the body, which means to give our body indulgences just because the body likes it, then we're not only destroying the body, we're misusing the world. But that's what it means to be a bad shetabah, is when your body starts becoming the focal point of your life, instead of seeing your body as an expression. Neshama is menhe. Adam. Adam is 45. That's the Adam, that's the human in us, the godly in us. Forget about God. Let's make it about the animal in us. We separate the body. The body is supposed to be an animal, but the soul is the human. And just like animal and soul, the human is supposed to ride the animal. The soul is supposed to ride the body. If the body wiggles its way, it starts becoming a thing unto itself, demanding its own attention, unrelated to the spiritual purpose for what we were created. Then you're going in already into a ban of ban, and you're going into the world of bricks. And then you're stepping into the world of teaching. And suddenly everything is becoming like, wow. The Indian Olamai said in the idea of worlds, where it's the difference between Olam Atzilus. Now, in terms of worlds, the world of Atzilus, first world, is a very holy godly world. Because the world of Atzilus is called Ma. Purely divine. And even though there are vessels there, but all the vessels of the world of, all the definitions of the world of Atzilus are completely subservient to the energy. So much so that the vessels don't even have any bit of self. They're just like Aaron said, the piece of Moshe. The vessels of Atzilus are just a now language and anchoring God into something, into an expressed. God himself is beyond all definitions. Anchoring God into kindness, into this. See, once God is being defined as kind being, the compassionate being, these are all through the world of definitions, all through letters. But those letters and those words are completely dissolved to the energy. So the world of Atzilus in general is a world of Ma. And the vessels of Atzilus are the bottom of the Ma. They are the stones of the man-made, that the God-made stone. Olam Atzilus, the Olam is beyond, to the three lower worlds. Atzilus U'Chenas Ma. Atzilus is the world of Ma. And it says in the teaching of Zohar from the Elijah the prophet, Shem Ma, the name of Ma, which is the pathway of Atzilus. And through Atzilus flows the power of Ma. Ilu Shem Ba, the name of 52. U'Chenas Biyah is already the energy in the three lower worlds is from the name of Ba. From the name of Ba, the vessels start becoming much chunkier. The definitions start becoming a little bit more separated. So we come to our world where the physical world seems completely divorced from its spiritual content. And it takes a lot of work for us to reconnect. It takes a human who has a godly soul from the world of Atzilus, from Ma, to introduce that bit into the world. The further you go down, the more you're going more into Ban. The less the Ma is felt, the more the Ban is felt. The more the definitions are felt, the more the something is felt, the more the arrogant it becomes, the more self-absorbed it becomes. Because in the worlds of Biyah, there is the concept of somethingness, period of separation. Which is in the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation, is in the epitome of nullification and unification. And as it says, God is one with his life forces, which are the lights of Atzilus, the energies of Atzilus. God is perfectly one with them. But the main novelty is that God is even one with the vessels, even with the stones of Atzilus, even with the vessels. Even the vessels, they're one with it. And that's why they are called Ban of Ma. They're still part of the Ma. Nevertheless, in a Gamba Atzilus, Atzilus is also that. But that's the Ban. The Biyah. And also in the three lower worlds, which are mainly vesseled up. They're all about vessels, more about definitions. Yesh in Oiros. Over here, there's an element of light. There's soul even in our world. Just like it is in the names of Ma and Ban, there is a Ban of Ma, and then there is a Ma in the Ban. Same as also in the world, there is a Caleb vessel element in Atzilus, and there is an Oir element, there's a light element in the three lower. But obviously, the lights of the three lower world is much lighter, much less than the light in Atzilus. And the vessel of Atzilus is much less than the vessel elements down here. The vessel is pronounced, thick, dense, all the way down to our material, really dense world. And chapter number 4, he says, to understand this even stronger. We're going to leave it over here. This idea of how vessels form. It's going to connect us a little bit back to the iron phase mind. Look how much there is in the Torah. Look how much light. Look how much there is in the wisdom. How much we miss if we don't delve deeply. One little verse of it, if it's speak, it's not the word. It's not. Learn the insights still. All right, everyone. So next week, everybody.